Hey, what is up? And welcome back to another episode of the Relationship Schools podcast. I'm your host, Jayson Gaddis. Good to be here with you right now. If you're new, welcome. This podcast is all about growing up through relational challenges and becoming who we are. Relationships are such a vehicle for personal growth and development. So you're listening if you're into growth and development, or maybe you're on the fence and you just want your relationship life to be a little better. Well, I can assure you, you're going to need to look in the mirror to deal with that person in order to get what you want. All right. Hey, I want to thank everybody for leaving your reviews on Apple Podcasts. That's awesome. Thanks for subscribing on YouTube if you want to watch the visual of the podcast. Really appreciate you guys. And I got something cool and exciting coming up where I want to tell you about this. And in this episode, by the way, we're going to get into the two main ways to end a relationship. And I'm going to talk about if you're on the receiving end of a relationship and it doesn't go well and the relationship ends, what to do. And if you are thinking about ending a relationship, how to maybe do it. Okay, so this will be a short one, but I think it's going to be valuable. But first, it's important that I tell you about this new exciting monthly contest we're doing here at the school. So each month, I'm going to do a contest, and I'm going to challenge you to do something, take an action, kind of like the action step, but it's going to be a monthly action step. And it's going to be something maybe I've wrestled with or I think is going to help you. And then you're going to submit your challenge. It's going to be like written, or there might be a selfie video. You're going to submit that into our Relationship School Facebook group. And then we're going to choose a winner based on engagement, comments, etc. And our team will be involved in that. Now, why am I doing this? Well, number one, I think it's really interesting when we challenge ourselves to do something uncomfortable, and then we report back to someone like we do in the action steps, right? I always say, hey, share this with a friend. Because when we're held accountable like that, it helps us grow. And I want to give away things to loyal fans and listeners who are committed to this work, to growing up through relationship, etc. All right. And then selfishly, I want to receive your email. So what we're going to do is you're going to go to relationshipschool.com/challenge, and you're going to leave your email there. If you're already on my list, don't worry about it. If you get my emails every week, okay, you're going to want to look for emails that say personal update. I just sent another one out, all right, this week. And if you open that email, you'll get the personal update. And inside that email are the contest details and what to do. The only place that you can be rewarded for playing, possibly win, for example, 2 tickets to our Accepted and Connected workshop, that's $2,000 in value. The only way you can do that is if you're on my email list, all right? And I feel excited. So make sure you go to relationshipschool.com/challenge, all right? Leave your email if you want the monthly update. Okay, it just went out this week, and I challenge you to take an action. All right, the next month, we will award a winner and announce that here on the podcast. Okay, and the lucky winner this next time is going to get 2 tickets to the Accepted and Connected event coming up in early May 6th, that weekend. So save that date, right? That's where you can learn how to work through conflict so that you can feel accepted and connected. Okay, awesome. All right, in this episode, I want to dive into 2 ways to end a relationship. And I'm going to keep this pretty short. I could talk for hours about this, but I want to start with a story. Sometimes when we end a relationship, we feel the need to tell someone how we really feel because maybe we have been too scared to, or we haven't felt safe enough to, or it didn't go well the last time we told the truth. And we wait until the end, and then we drop a bomb in someone's lap. I call it throwing a grenade behind your wall. All right. So my story of this, I've done this many times in my life, but there's one poignant story. Back when I was an Outward Bound instructor, training to be an Outward Bound instructor, it was a 30-day alpine mountaineering and rock climbing course here in Colorado. I didn't live in Colorado at the time. And I wanted to become an Outward Bound instructor. Well, you had to go through this 30-day course to become an instructor. And it was very rigorous, right? Pretty intense. And it was me and 6 other students and 2 instructors, a male instructor, female instructor. And by and large, the instructors were awesome. And they really taught me. I already knew a lot about nature and the mountains and climbing. But actually, the female instructor told me I was setting my climbing gear in wrong in the cracks, which pissed me off. I was initially defensive, but she was right. She was spot on. She actually made it safer for me. Regardless, I had a little bit of a personality clash with this woman. I was difficult. I was not working on myself at the time. I was doing no therapy. I was doing very little self-reflection, and I was mostly blaming everyone else in my life for my problems. So I'm on this course. The very end of the course, right? I am exhausted, totally tired, and proud of myself that I finished the course. And they give us a feedback form on the final day, final hours. Like, hey, we'd like your feedback. How could we improve as instructors? Well, I was building up my resentments about this woman primarily, and the guy a little bit during the course, and I never spoke it along the way. So I got the feedback form, and I just pulled out my pen and I just let it rip. And I basically had very little positive feedback, and it was all constructive, what we called constructive. But it was actually kind of destructive because I just dropped a bomb on their lap and said, here's all the things you did wrong in the course and why you weren't very good instructors. I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to admit this, but that's where I was at the time. And then guess what I did? I drove away. See ya. And I never looked back. And that's how I left that relationship. You know, I had a 30-day, very intimate relationship with all these people. We went through a ton of intensity together. And then I say, you know, fuck you, basically on the way out. So that's definitely what not to do. But why do we do this? We do this because, I mean, there's a number of reasons, but we'll justify that as, well, there wasn't space. They weren't open to feedback, or there was no opportunity. Or if we're really responsible, we might say, you know, I'm just really scared. I'm just scared to be honest. I don't know how to work with my judgments and just appreciate someone. So this is the best I could do, right? Okay. So there's basically lobbing grenades from behind my wall. Yeah. So let's talk about these 2 ways to end a relationship. Number 1 is direct, and number 2 is indirect, like I did. Right. So let's talk about number 1. So direct is we look someone in the eye, and we actually in person is ideal. Zoom, second case scenario, or FaceTime. But we don't do it through email or through a letter or a feedback form. We actually just tell someone directly, hey, you know, I'm ending this relationship, and it shouldn't be a surprise to you because I've spoken up along the way, and it doesn't feel good to me anymore, and I'm going to walk away from our connection, and that feels like the right thing to do for me. And I'm sure and imagine this is going to be hard for you, or you're impacted by my leaving this relationship, and it's just what I need to do for myself right now. It feels like the right move. I'm moving on to other things, other people, whatever. You know, the essence here you get is I'm just being direct, right? And it, again, shouldn't come out of the blue because you've spoken up. Someone who does direct endings, like looks someone in the eye and says, I'm ending this relationship, is someone who spoke up along the way, right? Hey, this works for me. Hey, this doesn't work for me. And then, hey, you know, remember I'm speaking up, and there's a bunch of things that haven't worked for me in our relationship, and so I'm ending it. All right, that's direct. Okay, indirect is we're passive aggressive, or we're just aggressive, or we're very passive. We've withheld usually along the way, and it either comes out sideways in a mean text. I mean, people break up now over text, which is just, that tells me the depth of your relationship and how not valuable it was if you're breaking up with someone over text. And, you know, it's understandable young people, maybe teenagers do this, but when we're you know, have a lot of life experience, to me, guys, this is a very compromised and limited way to end a relationship is through email or text. Much better to say, hey, can I have some time with you? And let's do this. And remember if you know my story, the final breakup that led to my personal growth path, me stepping onto the path, I had the courage, even though I was scared shitless, to tell my girlfriend at the time to her face. And it was awful. Usually I'd try to weasel out and try to get them to break up with me or whatever. And I finally had the courage to be direct And it wasn't that direct, but it was as direct as I could do back then with the tools I had and the self-awareness I had. So indirect is usually when we blame someone on the way out. I never liked you anyway. Hey, you've been so mean to me. Hey, you did all these things wrong, and I'm out of here. And that's sort of what we do when it's indirect. Or we just sort of ghost on people. That's very indirect. We just disappear. We stop returning emails. We stop returning texts. And silence is extremely upsetting to other people. We kind of know that. And so we're like, I'll get you with I'll do a gotcha with my silence. Yeah. So don't do that, obviously. Okay, that's indirect. And I think it's important to look at your motives as you end a relationship. Are you trying to kind of tell someone off on your way out? Or are you trying to be as respectful as you can and let them know, hey, you're out of here? And honestly, guys, it's better to take responsibility for your own stuff outside of that last conversation. So the last conversation, direct or indirect, the last conversation you have with this person, you don't need to unload all of your complaints about them like I did in the feedback form. You can just leave. And they're probably not that open to your feedback. And you don't have like a consensual conversation where it's like, hey, can I give you a bunch of feedback now that I'm never going to talk to you again? You probably didn't ask that. And they probably would say, no, you don't. Like if they had themselves, they'd be like, no, thanks, because you're leaving. Like, why would I be open to your feedback if you're, breaking up with me or you're ending this relationship? So sometimes we have a bunch of charge with another person. And as we end the relationship, we basically just need to thank them and say, hey, thanks for our time together. I'm moving on for a number of personal reasons. And if you're open to knowing about those and you want to have a conversation, cool. But it's just like you could just leave it at that. I'm leaving this relationship for a bunch of personal reasons, and that's what I need to do for myself right now. That's a very respectful way, even if you have this massive pile of judgments about them, right? Because it's just not going to go that well, and you're going to make yourself look pretty bad if you do that. If you just throw the grenade behind the wall, right? Okay, now let's talk about how do we handle when we're on the receiving end of someone doing it either direct or indirect. Well, direct, obviously we want to thank the person and say, thanks for being direct with me along the way. Yeah, this doesn't come out of the blue. It makes sense to me why you're ending this relationship. Gosh, it's painful for me, and I appreciate you looking me in the eye and being direct with me. That's sort of how we handle the direct person. The indirect person, it can be very tempting, right, to, if they did a gotcha and they lobbed a grenade behind their wall, for you to do the same. Oh, cool. I'm going to tell them all the fucking things they didn't, that didn't work for me. Screw you type of thing. And then you fire back the text or the email with all of your complaints now that are coming out because your feelings are hurt. And you could just dump on them, right? So I don't recommend that, obviously. You got to really watch how insecure and scared and pissed off you feel. And just turn to someone who actually does care about you and work through it with your therapist, your coach, or a good friend and say, gosh, I'm so triggered by this person's and how they ended the relationship. And then here's the key point. And they don't deserve my time. This is really huge, right? Because some of us will want to get roped into like a back and forth mean exchange over text or email, or even in person, but most people are too scared to be that honest in person. So don't fire back not because that's just a bad idea, although that's one reason, but because they don't deserve your time or your explanation. They've already told you they're done and they're out of here. So why would you reopen the door that they just closed and try to fire back a bunch of things or get them to explain something, or, hey, what about this? Or, yeah, but when you didn't do this or did this to me. Like that's you trying to pry the door back open to the crowbar when they've already shut it. And that's you not valuing yourself, right? So you got it? They don't deserve your time or explanation. Next, a couple other bonus steps here are you could see the benefits. You could actually write a list of benefits to them hating you, leaving you, breaking up with you, firing you. You can just stack up a bunch of like, well, how is this actually going to help me in my life, right? We do this with with our students at the relationship school here, we try to look at the upside of any painful situation. There is always an upside, even though it's hard to look at. So we're just going to say, yeah, what are the benefits to me? And how is this helping me trust myself more and believe in myself even more? And then you might, so you don't carry this into the next relationship, you could just notice that you chose to be in a relationship with someone who eventually ended it. And what does that say about you along the way? And how can we maybe avoid people like this in the future? What red flags were there along the way? Because usually when they drop a bomb in your lap, it's a little bit of a surprise, but it tells you that they've been resenting you for quite a long time. So it's like, oh, wow, how did I miss this? And then we can learn about ourselves, right? Okay. So there's a few tips on how to deal with relationship endings, right? There's direct, there's indirect, and then what do we do when we're on the receiving end of that? And obviously, I'm encouraging you to be practicing your relational skills that you're learning here in this podcast, and being direct with people, being honest with people, being forthright, showing them the respect of being honest, but also not dumping a big pile of your resentments onto them. Okay, it's inconsiderate, it's rude, and it actually says more about them than you. All right? And then, yeah, can we deal with the reality that someone has ended a relationship with us, and can we work through that and that pain without them on our own? And I know we can, because I do that with people all the time. All right, so here's your action step. I just want you to reflect on if there's currently a relationship ending in your life, then you've got a couple choices. Am I going to do direct or indirect? And obviously I'm saying go direct. End it directly, respectfully, like an adult. And then if you're on the receiving end of that, same thing. End it respectfully. Watch you're trying to give yourself away. Remember, they don't deserve your time. Yeah. And if you're not ending a relationship, or a relationship hasn't been ended with you currently, then I want you to reflect on your last relationship and how it went down, how the relationship ended. And was it direct or indirect? And did you participate in that, or were you the bigger person? And did you have yourself and set some boundaries and say, actually, they don't deserve my time? Just reflect on that. And then finally share it with someone, remember? Always if you actually do the action step, which I'm encouraging here, always follow it up with another human who you like and trust, who will actually go, hey, I did this cool exercise. I just want to be seen. I want to be accountable to growing here and reflecting on my life so that I can keep improving in how I do relationships. Okay? Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Good hanging with you. And remember, if you want the monthly email update, the only place I'm doing this is on my email list. Okay, I'm not doing it on Instagram or here or anywhere else. If you want the deets, plus I share all of my latest favorite things I'm into, painful moments, favorite books, favorite podcasts, my favorite song in this moment. I usually include a picture of a place I've been with my family or a funny shot or something. So if you want that, please join my email list. And I'm going to send out a monthly challenge. So it's relationshipschool.com/challenge if you're not already on the email list. Also, you're going to get deals, right? If you're on my email list, you see the sales that we have, etc. Okay? And remember, you don't need to sign up if you're already on my list. Okay? And you should know because we send out regular emails, right? Cool. Okay, thanks everybody. Be well and stay connected. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share one of these videos with a friend. We want to help the planet get their act together around relationships, and you are one of them, so thank you.